Joe Rogan destroyed these politicians with simple facts.
And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
From calling out Gavin Newsom's absurd theatrics during the LA wildfires to fact-checking Bernie Sanders on the spot.
So look at the far end of that graph, and you see we're in a cooling period.
Well, I'm not sure.
That's why today's video is not to be missed. So buckle up because you're in for a treat.
Did you see what's going on? Obviously, you've seen what's going on in California. But the governor gave this creepy fucking speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down while it's still only 6% contained. And he did this little dance like, I've been talking with these, with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We've got some ideas. A speculator. We're gonna have some meetings. Like, he's doing
really?
This. Oh, show it to him, Jamie. It's so creepy because it's happening while these people their houses have been burned, all their childhood memorabilia, all the stuff for their kids, the photos, the fucking everything they have is gone. All heirlooms, their mother's wedding ring, that kind of shit. Everything's burnt to the ground. And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face.
What we saw from Gavin Newsom during the LA wildfires was nothing short of absurd. For instance, he once pretended to be on the phone with the former president just to avoid a woman who was pressing him for accountability. But hey, that's what happens when politicians feel untouchable. You vote them in, and then they act like they're above the mess they helped create. Joe wasn't letting that slide, as he asked Jamie to pull up the clip. And believe me, there's something about watching that moment with your own eyes that hits harder than just hearing about it.
Watch this. Play this. And give me.
I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
With a big smile on his face. Look at the little wiggle he does with his shoulders. Speculator, watch this. Talking to Josh. Look at this. Look at this little wiggle. The amount of money they could have saved by just clearing brush, by filling the reservoir. That 11 million gallon reservoir was completely empty during the time of full fire season. Like, why didn't you fix that?
Yeah.
Like, it's all insanely mismanaged. And then this guy is on television talking about, we're real excited about that. Doing a dance in front of the burned down home that people used to sleep in, where their children would sleep in.
To be fair, Gavin was trying to address concerns about real estate developers swooping in and buying up fire-damaged properties for next to nothing, taking advantage of desperate homeowners. And the reason he mentioned Hawaii's governor is that a similar problem happened during the Maui wildfires a year earlier. That said, California still stands out as one of the worst managed states in the country. Even now, many LA wildfire victims are dealing with massive insurance delays, and some are being flat out denied coverage. It's a mess. Next up, we have Bernie Sanders getting hit with a brutal fact check while talking about climate change.
You got to deal with this climate change issue. And I know that, there are some people who think climate change is a hoax. It ain't a hoax. I think the last 10 years have been the warmest on record. And we can create millions of good-paying jobs transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency, to solar, to wind, and other sustainable energies.
I think the climate change issue is very complicated. And I think, did you see the Washington Post piece that they wrote where they did this long-term view? First of all, the reality is that the Earth's temperature has never been static, right? We could both agree on that. It's always been up and down. There's been ice ages and heat waves. And then the Washington Post looked at it. What was the time period that they looked at? That essentially they found that we're in a cooling period. Scientists have captured the Earth's climate change over the last 485 million years. Here's a surprising place we stand now. So look at the far end of that graph, and you see we're in a cooling period.
Well, I'm not sure.
No, I didn't read that article.
For context, the article Joe is reading was published towards the end of last year, and it cites a study that combined more than 150,000 pieces of fossil evidence with state-of-the-art climate models. Now, if you take a closer look at the graph, you see that some areas are shaded. That's because the values shown there have a 68% probability. In other words, even this study, which suggests we might be in a cooling period, still relies heavily on assumptions and estimates. Joe used this as an opportunity to explain the deeper issue with climate change, and he made some valid points.
There's a lot of money involved in this whole climate change emergency issue, and there's a lot of control, and that's a big part of this problem. Not only that, if we're just talking about primarily carbon and carbon footprint, what are we going to do about China? Because China is like, what percentage of
they are the major polluter right now in terms of carbon. We're number two. We used to be one. They are number one right now.
There's all these entanglements. Whenever someone's discussing something, whether it's economics or whether it's health issues or pharmaceutical drugs, there's financial entanglements. I think we both agree with that, right?
Yep.
And I think this is part of the issue with this whole climate change emergency as well, because it's not just that we could all agree pollution is a major factor. It's a huge issue in the world today. We could all agree with that, right? I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that whenever there's an issue that everyone can agree on, you're going to have a bunch of people that capitalize on that issue, and they look to gain more money. They have financial issues that they push forward in order to capitalize on this issue, but then also power and control.
Exactly. Let me put what he just said into perspective, because this isn't just some conspiracy theory. In the name of hitting net zero targets, governments around the world have decided it's acceptable to dictate how regular people should live. That means carbon taxes, electric vehicle mandates, and pouring massive amounts of taxpayer money into so-called green policies. All of this is being done while they fly private to attend climate summits in jets that burn more fuel in one trip than most people do in an entire year. It's pure insanity in motion, but nothing comes close to how Joe exposed Kamala Harris in her campaign after refusing to appear on his show and somehow blaming him for it.
Well, I heard you might have needed to cancel on us to get Kamala Harris on.
I was not going to do that. I would have had to. I knew you guys flew from England, and I wasn't going to cancel on you because she had an opportunity to come in. You could look at this and you could say, oh, you're being a diva. But she had an opportunity to come here when she was in Texas, and I literally gave them an open invitation. I said, anytime. I said, if she's done at 10 o'clock, we'll come back here at 10 o'clock. I go, I'll do it at 9 in the morning. I'll do it at 10 p.m. I'll do it at midnight. If she's up. She wants to, drink a Red Bull, party on.
Yeah, but I think this idea that you're being a diva is silly because you're offering her the opportunity to do exactly what the other candidate did, right?
Well, she actually reached out when she found out that he was coming on. So their camp reached out to me. So I said, great, I would love to talk to her. But it was very difficult to tie it down.
This episode aired just 4 days after Trump's appearance, and by then, it was obvious Kamala wasn't coming on the show. There were plenty of excuses floating around, but eventually Joe just laid it all out. According to him, her team wanted a tightly controlled setup, just 45 minutes to an hour, not on his set, and expressed concerns about how the podcast not be edited. Basically, they wanted a curated PR moment, not an open conversation. Despite that, some of Kamala's former campaign staffers kept pushing their own version of events, twisting the narrative. That's when Joe stepped in and set the record straight.
One of the things they said that weren't true was that we lied about the day that Trump was coming on. No, we just didn't tell you that Trump was coming on. He was already booked a long time ago. This is how it worked. Trump was really easy to book, like super easy. We offered one day. He said yes. That was it. There was no, what are we going to talk about? How long is it going to be? Is it going to be edited? There was nothing. Yeah. What's the waiver? Here, give me that waiver. Sign it. It was so easy. So he was already booked. They never committed to doing the show. So all this talk, there was another thing they said that the reason why they did the Beyonce thing, the Beyonce event in Houston, was so that they could be in Texas to do my show. They never agreed to do the show. None of that's true. They never agreed. They also said that they sent someone down here to the studio to do a walkthrough of the set. That's not true. The Trump administration did.
I think it's safe to say that Kamala skipping the podcast might have been one of the terrible mistakes of her campaign, of which there were many. But I'd love to know your thoughts here, so let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please share it with your friends because it helps a ton. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.